He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you. He's fighting for me. He'll bring that home, just like he's
AM 60 KBLU. I'll start with you on a Monday morning, 6:05. Phone line open. Give me a call, 928-344-5258. Long weekend. A good one. A good week. I went to the mandatory meeting for the state committee chairs up in Phoenix to attend the vote for new chairman and other key positions. It was a long day. We were in Prescott. We actually went to Prescott, and which is a nice change, a venue. Usually it meets in Maricopa, but all the rural communities need to be included at time. And I think it was a good move. A little longer drive, but worth it. Worth it to get out into another community. And the venue was a lot larger, so it was a lot more comfortable. Unfortunately, it was way too long. It just it drug on. Registration was to begin at 8:30, so I got there an hour early. Not knowing the traffic, not going, having just taking my time. So that meant I left the house before 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, yeah, and not normal for most, but for me, I'm generally up anyway. It didn't matter to me, but man, the thing was supposed to kick off at 10, didn't kick off till 12. Registration numbers were being tabulated and calculated, and I guess they don't use a computer. It's all with a calculator, I guess. But then it just stretched out all day, all day. I got home after midnight. Yeah, I drove back. I felt fine, so I was okay. The payback is I slept in a lot. I couldn't go to sleep right away, but I slept in. So but it was work. It was a good meeting. We do have a new chairman for the Republican Party in the state. Sergio uh, was elected, and I left him a text this morning. I don't know if he's slept. I mean, he's got a lot more to do than I do. I'm sure he probably didn't even get to sleep in on Sunday. I don't know. I have no idea, but wonderful guy. I've known him for many years. He's been in the Yuma area quite a bit over the years. He's run for Grijalva seat. I think he ran against Grijalva, and I was with him quite a bit during that election, which he lost, and then he didn't walk away from anything. He stayed right with it. He moved up into the Maricopa area and has been helping with other candidates, helping with the Republican Party in various different positions, training people, he's very active, and obviously his networking and working in that helped a lot. And I think he can help. I think he can help the state a lot too. It was fun to see him, somebody that get into that position and somebody you trust. Looking forward to helping in any way I can with him. I think it'll be good for the party, but we will see. It is a tough position because you got a lot of people that want to help, but you got just as many people trying to trip you, and that's not good. But we need a very strong Republican Party to move forward for this upcoming election this year. This year, it needs to be unified, needs to be active, and I think under his leadership, we got a great chance of getting that done. We will see. A lot will unfold pretty immediately within the next month or two because there's no time to wait. This election cycle's already running. It's already moving. So we need to get busy and get busy quick. I'm going to talk a little bit about Minnesota, and of course Minnesota is a war zone. It looks like an intentional war zone. It's not. It's it's planning to be a war zone. I heard something this morning, which was very interesting about the ICE operations, and we're talking about ICE operations, which ICE has my full support. They're doing they're doing a tremendous job against some of the worst conditions anybody can imagine. When you got government agencies that are fighting against you, state government agencies like Minnesota that are fighting against you and doing all they can to thwart you and to support these angry groups to get in your way and impede your investigations and arrest. And it's and they're standing strong. I know they are against the governor of Minnesota and the mayor and many in Congress are doing all they can to smear this whole thing to where it reflects on this election that's coming up. But we'll see how that goes. Attorney General, I'm sorry, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, he's defending the actions of the federal law enforcement agencies there in Minnesota. Of course, this recent loss of life, which is not good for anybody. Well, I think the protesters are looking for martyrs. They I think they are not happy that there was a loss of life, but they're not going to ignore it. They're going to attempt to profit from it and use it as a wedge issue to get their way. They want ICE out of the picture. They want ICE gone. They want these thugs to continue to run the street, which is just mind-boggling that they do that. But it was Jeffrey Preddy that recently, a 37-year-old, and he was not an illegal alien. He was an intensive care nurse at the Department of Veterans Affairs Hospital, but was heavily engaged, apparently, heavily engaged in the protest and in the trying to thwart ICE operations. He was part of that militant side of things. Todd Blanche was interviewed, and he's the Attorney General, by Christine Welker on NBC. And a lot of the criticism about the actions of the agents, and he starts off with, yes, our agents are acting humanely. Their jobs are very, very difficult. It's a very difficult place to be going out and trying to arrest these violent felons with no support from local enforcement, with no support from the governor. There have been thousands of arrests in Minnesota, but critics focus on 2 or 3 things that are pointing to being the wrong or being too aggressive or not being appropriate. It's not fair to the men and women who are doing this every day. I agree with him. It's going to fall on deaf ears on a lot. People on the left, people that want the ICE out, the people that want to protect the criminal aliens from being arrested, which it is still surreal, but it goes on. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hey, happy Monday morning, sir.
Happy Monday morning to you, Carl.
Yeah. Russ, we got 5 whole beautiful days of getting the dickens.
Well, we do. Hey, I missed this weekend. You decided not to make that trip, but it was a long day, man.
Yeah, well, I did. I think that was above my pay grade this time.
Well, you've gone to many of them. You're a regular.
Yeah, but here's my 2 cents for the day.
Yeah, man.
We, the people, finally put somebody in the Republican Party that will work for we, the people, and that is Sergio.
Yes, I can relate to Sergio. I trust him. I like him.
Yes. Well, I've got to deal with him that when he was running, I helped him run, and then the things that he's done.
Yep.
He's a we the people, but I have I'm feeling more he's doing this to help us more than he is to help his pocketbook.
Oh, correct. I absolutely agree with that.
No, I know some that like to help, but they do more to do it for their pocketbook than they do for we the people.
There has been people that use it as a stepping stone, for bigger and greater things, and that's not terrible.
No, it's not. I'm not.
Yeah.
But you it's a fine line you got to ride. So
Yeah. And I wouldn't have any problems if Sergio decides to, after his time at the chair of the Republican Party, to run for an elected position again, at some place, and it gives him a lot of visibility and a lot of help to do that. But
oh yeah,
I think he's doing it to help. I mean, I absolutely do.
oh yeah,
So yeah,
I do too.
yeah.
And another one that is doing it to help is David Laura. What he's doing, well, we have to go back to our local, what we do here and what we do in our own little town.
Yeah, David Laura, and he was there Saturday, obviously, and
Yeah,
and just it really is nice to see him up there, and he's we have a lot of elected officials in Yuma County.
yeah,
I think he, other than Jeff Stoner, he might have been the only one that was there. Well, Connie Reeby, she was there.
Yep.
Jeff Stoner and David Laura, the only elected officials that were that showed up to be there that day
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And I know not everyone's schedule works into it. It's not terrible they don't show up, but it's a nice when they do and they represent at the state level. It's good.
yeah. Well, to me, if it had been in Phoenix, I would have went to the meeting. But going to Prescott for the meeting is a little farther than I need to do.
It's a long trip.
I always thought, we are the whole state, but once a year we should all meet in the middle, so it's real easy on most of them, because most of them, a lot of percentage live in Phoenix.
Yeah. It was an extra hour up and an extra hour back. There's no question. But it's worth it. If I'd have known you were looking for a ride, I'd have taken you.
Well, you know what? I would have went because the ride would have been worth the trip.
Yeah.
People might not understand what I'm talking about, but it is a real short trip when you go to Vegas with Russ Clark.
Well, some would agree with you, some would not. But some feel like it's a little longer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but some of them are down there praying for the people we put in jail for ballot harvesting. We have some of them people don't like it. They're down there praying for them. So you know what? I'm going to run with the people that like you more than the ones that don't. So.
Yeah, it's a tough position because when somebody wins a position like this and wins the election, there's somebody that loses, and so there's going to be people disappointed. And so the trick is to bring that all together. Not always the easiest thing to do. Not always, but it should be. But we're in an aggressive time in our community. The Republicans are not immune from it. Some of that is in there, but we need to mitigate it as much as we can, give the guys support, and get this party to continue to stay strong.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking to Sergio, and I'm going to invite him to come down. We're going to be out at the fair, and I'm going to come down. I'm going to invite him down to come down and just meet the people and say, "Hey, here I am." So that I think is one of the best things I can do for Yuma. You want to see who's represented you and let him know what you think. Because, we have to stop. There's people like Adelina Grajova. She's getting a lot of Facebook because she's down there fighting with our border patrol tonight.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Sergio's up. He just texted me. He says, what's a good time for a call in? So just
tell Sergio, have a good day, and I'm getting off the phone, my friend.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Hey, you're gonna be with us listening to. Bye.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye. Yeah, it is. So I'm surprised he's up. I thought that by now. So he's going to call me at 6:30. I better give him the number. 928-344-5258. I'm typing it. Make sure that he's got that. So at 6:30, don't call me. Let Sergio in. I'll hang up on you. Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, go on about him discussing the ICE. He says there have been thousands of arrests in Minnesota, but critics focus on 2 or 3 things that are pointed to as being wrong or being too aggressive or not being appropriate. It's not fair to the men and women doing this every day. Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, pipes in that the victim who was armed violently resisted arrest and that the federal agent fired his weapon fearing for his life. Um, I I I watched just a little bit of the video. When he was shot, he did not have a gun in his hand. When he was shot, he had a gun that was already either on the sidewalk or not in his possession at that time. You know, it was knocked loose. The gun. He brought a gun and 2 extra clips, I think, and it was not. The agent said he was reaching, towards his holster. He's reaching for something. But apparently, in one hand he had a cell phone, one hand was empty, and he was reaching for something. And of course, he was fighting the whole time. The officers that were trying to hold him down. So the Homeland Security officer, the Border Patrol officer, unfortunately fired and took his life. I mean, it's unfortunate for all involved, including for Border Patrol and for the agent that had to pull the trigger. But he did what he did based on the situation and making sure he was protecting fellow officers. So it's not like he was walking down the street and as an innocent protester. He was a guy that was blocking, agitated, and trying to free somebody they were arresting. So he was combative, and it was unfortunate it came to that. The parents, and that's an interesting story on the parents, Michael and Susan Preddy, obviously distraught. Obviously, it's a terrible thing for them. They're heartbroken. They're angry. That's their comments. They condemn the version of events presented by law enforcement as sickening lies. Alex was kind-hearted soul who deeply cared for his family and friends, and also the American veteran who he cared for as an ICU nurse in the Minneapolis VA hospital. The sickening lies told about my son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting. Alex was clearly not holding a gun when attacked by Trump's murdering and cowardly ICE thugs. Obviously, he was not holding a gun at that time. I don't know that anyone said he was. He had a phone in his right hand and empty left hand as he raised above his head while trying to protect a woman. ICE just pushed down, all while being pepper sprayed. Trying to protect. In other words, he was fighting with the ICE agents. And he did have a gun, there's no question. That's they know he had a gun. Also read that he wasn't carrying identification, and carrying extra clips for the gun, like he expected. He expected some altercation. Something you're not seeing a lot about, but was released early on by the AP, was an interview with, and this was after the shooting, an interview with his parents, at least with Michael, anyway, the father. And he told the AP, he says, we had this discussion with him 2 weeks ago or so, that go ahead and protest, but do not engage, do not do anything stupid, basically. And he said he knows that. He knew that. Well, he did something stupid. He decided to physically get engaged, physically try to impede the actions of the federal officers, which has, of course, made him somebody that was going to get a lot of attention. And of course, then it was proven that he had a gun. That was, the police knew he had a gun. Because I think by then it was dislodged. By the time of the shooting, the gun was dislodged. I don't know how that happened. I haven't read a lot on it, but I think the gun was exposed. Of course, that puts them more on edge. The police officers, ICE agents, as they're doing their duty. That this guy already has a gun that's on the sidewalk, extra clip, and then according to the officer that actually shot him, stated by him that he was reaching. Of course, you don't know. Many police officers too. They carry backup guns, and this guy seemed to be heavily armed, going into a situation that he knew what he was getting into. His parents warned him not to, but he felt obviously felt compelled that it was the right thing to do. That he had to go fight ICE officers, and I blame. I just blame these organizations that are promoting this, openly promoting fighting physical altercations with ICE officers. The governor, the mayor, many elected officials are yelling to get rid of ICE. There's even, CNN is inadvertently, while they're filming, show signs on the walls that say "Kill ICE." So there is a lot of anger on the left that just wants ICE eliminated altogether. And I before Carl called, I said I heard on the radio a story about ICE that they're active all over the country. They're not active just in Minnesota. They're active in quite a number of states. In Texas, ICE has arrested 10 times more people than they have in Minneapolis. They're 10 times more active, and they have the cooperation of the governor, the cooperation of the police and sheriff's offices, the jails, and they're able to do their job seamlessly and without any kind of problems. The governor in the state of Minnesota is intentionally causing the problems, causing attention, asking people to rally, asking people to stand up, asking people to get rid of ICE. ICE is the problem. I don't know. I don't know his exact rationale as to why. But if I had to guess, he's covering up a lot of theft. He's covering up a lot of fraud. He's covering up a lot of internal problems. And this seems to be getting the headlines versus the Somali fraud and the possible connection to his administration. They may be connected. Many people believe they are. I'll be right back. And I'll be right back with the new chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Arizona. AM 560 KBLU.
71 and cloudy on Monday. Northeast winds at 10 to 15. Partly cloudy and 45 Monday night. Sunny and 74 on Tuesday.
Hey, y'all, mark your calendar and get ready to experience the flavors and fun of New Orleans right here in Yuma. Alexander Toyota, Burgers and Beer, Carnes Law, and Fort Yuma Rotary presents Yuma's favorite, Mardi Gras on Main, Friday, February 13th from 5 to 11 p.m. with Eric Sage's Ultimate Rock Show and lots of vendors. So grab y'all's beads and head out to Main Street. It's Mardi Gras time. All proceeds raised help Fort Yuma Rotary's community projects.
Also brought to you in part by Elite Engraving, Rolls Linda Vista RV Park, Barrett Financial, and El Dorado Broadcasters.
To be a part of Russ's show, call 928-344-5258. That's 928-344-5258.
Today, we're talking with aphids and whiteflies about Safina insecticide from BASF.
We just got nailed with it.
So tell us, how you feeling?
Really, really weird.
And you still want to devour this field?
No way, bro.
There you have it, folks. Safina insecticide is specifically engineered to disorient aphids and whiteflies so they can't eat. And when they can't eat, they can't destroy.
Help protect your alfalfa from aphids with Safina insecticide. Always read and follow label directions.
Oh, hello. It's me, the calculator that lives inside of TaxSlayer. And let me tell you, I love numbers. 1040s, 1099s, W-2s, all of them. With TaxSlayer, anyone can file a federal return for just $22.99. You'll get 100% accuracy and your biggest possible refund guaranteed. Now, those are great numbers. Need help along the way? We've got U.S.-based real human support. File by February 8th for just $22.99 and get the refund you deserve. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a man in D.C.
AM 560 KBLU, Russ Park with you. It's Monday morning, 6:30. I know that Sergio Ariano is going to be calling here very shortly. So don't you don't call in and stop him until he does. The implications of what's going on with ICE, the negative press that's coming out, particularly the mainstream press and the radical left, that is framing this as untrained ICE officers and things, which is ridiculous. But that's what's out there. It's potentially is coming up in discussion because of the bills that are passing right now that has to go through the Senate to support the funding. So of course, with this latest incident created in Minneapolis or Minnesota, there's already senators talking about a shutdown because of it. I'll get back to that. Let me take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hey, Russ, it's Sergio.
Good morning, Sergio. Congratulations from all of Yuma, by the way.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And you are near and dear to my heart, and I really appreciate the support and the love. And gosh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a long night though. I don't know what I took off. I stuck around simply long enough to make sure I got that second vote in.
Yeah,
I didn't get home to Yuma until midnight or after. Finally I made it home. You probably didn't get home at all.
actually, I did. I got home at 1 a.m. because
Really?
I still had to stay and clean up, and we had to load up a lot of the, all the ballots and all the supplies. Yeah, it was madness.
So now that you are the chairman for the state Republican Party, what's first on the agenda, Sergio? What's most important?
Gosh, I was slammed with so many calls and text messages, emails.
Yeah.
It's just filtering through what the priorities are. But the first and foremost priority is seeing what the finances are, crack open the book, see where we're at, overhead and debt and so on and so forth, and then raise money.
Right.
We need to be able to raise money, and all of us ran on raising money. So now it's time to shore up those commitments that were made while we were on the trail, and just build a robust engagement machine so that we can hit the ground running and take out Hobbs, Mays, and Fontes this election.
And there's a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. Now, the Republican Party is well known to people that have donated in the past and some of the supporters and all that. But it's kind of scary, particularly with Gina leaving, saying that they all canceled, and we'll see if you guys can get them back. So I don't know what that means.
Well, Dr. Branch had a point when he was out campaigning, saying that we look every time there's a change in leadership, that we always look to the next person coming in, and we're beholden to them.
Correct.
And so, on top of having to go out and be shameless and asking for money, which I am. We have to build a system in place that survives after the chairman leaves.
Yeah.
And so one of my focuses and priorities is going to be that, so that we don't have personalities tied to the position of chairman or any leadership whatsoever. It's really unfortunate that the scare tactic seemed to me, it was a scare tactic because the donors that I know are still interested in coming back and being part of regaining our majority here in Arizona.
I think every donor is always looking to make sure that the leadership stays strong and directional and focused and makes good use of the funds to do what we need to do in order to make Arizona stronger. And I think you're going to carry that. I don't think there's any question you'll carry that. And
Most definitely.
I know you've spent the last few years in the Maricopa and networking, making friends, shaking hands, kissing babies for this last few years. And obviously it paid off at this stage to be elected and to get the confidence of everybody, including Maricopa. And that's not easy. So kudos to you. And I think it's going to go a long way in your ability to keep the funds coming and to keep the funds raised and to support the party so you can support financially the people that need the votes and need some advertising and to get the word out.
Most definitely, Russ. I ran on 5 years ago. I ran because I didn't like the direction that the party was headed in.
Right.
And the body made its choice, so I respected that. And I continue to keep my nose to the ground and grinding away. Rural Arizona, as you know, is very, I sympathize with them a lot because we don't get attention, we get ignored. And the sentiment started to spread to the people within Maricopa County. So, it's a demonstration of a lack of leadership from years back moving forward. And, I raised my head up and I saw that 5 years later, we weren't in a better position. And I think that frustration and all the shenanigans that have been played to date had a big role to play in this. But it's also indicative of the 16 years we put on the ground all over the state. And so I'm very happy that our efforts have been rewarded and the good guys won this time.
Will Gina be an aid to you? Will she be a help, or is she going to turn her phone off?
I congratulated the chairwoman. She's been sending us the communications and things that are coming in.
Good.
I haven't had a more thorough conversation with her to see what her level of involvement is, but I want to see her focus on her congressional run. CD1 is a very critical district for us, along with Congressman Ciscomani's out in CD6. So as long as there's focus and emphasis, and they can lay the foundation, then we can build upon that and help bring it home come November.
So November, we've got, it's critical for the country, and it's critical for the country that we don't lose a seat, and potentially it would be great if we could gain a seat in the state, and that's possible. But it's going to be a lot of work because we've got a couple districts that are on, they're not heavily weighted Republican by any means, but we have a Republican in like Ciscomani's for sure that's always on the edge.
Right. And we got to do a better job as a party in recognizing, listing, and supporting anyone that's running, regardless of what area of the district. When we were trying to take a stab at Grijalva in 2018, there was a big lack of response and support from the party.
Correct.
This time we had an opportunity where we had an empty seat on the Grijalva side there that continues to plague your area and all of southern Arizona. And the poor candidate, Mr. Gutierrez, never got any acknowledgement or recognition or support. Regardless of what the layout of the district is, we should be propping up our candidates and supporting them. Right. Because the more we support them, the more money the Democrats have to spend.
Yeah, he certainly didn't get enough, but he works all hard. He's still working to this day. But you probably know that. You probably are aware. But he's going to keep churning along. He's the Energizer Bunny. He's going to keep going.
Hey, as long as you keep up the fight and the battle, right, and with good people like you, Russ, we can continue raising awareness and lifting that voice and spreading it wide.
Well, if there's any help you need or anything you got to get the message out, please let me know. We want to make sure we throw all the support your way so that you can support us, my friend.
Oh, wow. Well, it means a lot to me, Russ.
Yeah.
The people of Yuma, I love you guys. You have always been very welcoming of me and of course the veterans. And man, I just miss you guys.
Well, we're looking. Yeah. Well, you're in a different den right now, and it's going to be tough. God bless you for doing it, and we need people like you to do that. So, give us a call when you need a little help, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for everything, and we will talk soon.
Take care, sir. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Of course, that was our new chairman of the Republican Party. He's got a big job. It's not small. Ask Jonathan Lyons. He ran that gauntlet and did very well with it. So we'll see. We'll see how Sergio. And hopefully, I'm sure Jonathan would give him advice if he needs it, if he needs to call him or something. But he's going to have. It's a big job. There's not everyone's going to be supporting you. There's going to be some people that are looking to take his job, and it's politics in some ways. But hopefully we can hold it together long enough to to show support, not going after each other. I was talking about ICE again, and the potential of this this negativity towards ICE, these attacks on ICE, maybe hurting our budget, maybe going into a shutdown. Senator Angus King out of Maine, who was talking to CBS, said he would not support the current 6-bill funding package because it includes DHS funding. He's an independent, but caucuses with the Democrats. But the Senate Democratic caucus is infuriated by the death of Alex Pretty. And apparently they're ready to shut the government down, at least some of them. I don't know that there's been a roll call on that, but they did shut it down this time. They may do it again. Senator King says, I hate shutdowns. I'm one of the people that helped negotiate the solution to the end of the last shutdown. But I can't vote for a bill that includes ICE funding under the circumstances. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says it also comes to the heels of ICE entering King's home state for the main Operation Catch. Apparently, Democratic Governor Janet Mills there in Maine is running to beat Susan Collins, Republican. She's a Republican that's a challenger. And that could determine the balance of power in Maine. And King argued an easy way out of the funding snafu, that there is an easy way out. Don't support ICE. Senator John Thune, a Republican, could separate out the DHS funding bill and let the lawmakers vote on the remaining 5 bills. That's what Senator King is asking for. Make the ICE funding separate, and then we'll vote the others in. And that way we would just take ICE off the table and destroy the funding of ICE and shut it down. Like that's what the country needs right now. That's what the Democrats want. They want to leave as many illegal aliens in the country as possible. And they'd shut the government down to do it. But to do that, that would put the funding out past the deadlines, because the House would have to approve those changes. And they're not going to return to Washington, D.C. until next month. And it would make sure we at least have a government shutdown means a partial. It's never the whole government, but it would be a partial shutdown by Friday, unless lawmakers can reach a compromise agreement. King says, let's have an honest negotiation. According to King, though, that honest negotiation is setting ICE out separately. Put some guardrails on what's going on, some accountability, and that would solve this problem. We don't have to have this shutdown. Which, I thought we avoided a shutdown with these bills and with what happened last time, but maybe not. Maybe the Democrats are ready to do it again. All over security. They don't want ICE. They don't want it out there. And they're not going to say anything about the fact that these governors and these states are fighting ICE head on and have caused all these issues, supported these issues. They put their police force on notice. You're not to get involved. You're not to get engaged. You're not supposed to bring peace to the streets. Let ICE fight these guys. And then they rally them up to fight the ICE, literally. They have manuals out there on how to do it, how to pull them away, how to stand in front, how to honk horns, block traffic, block ICE cars in, all illegal. Of course, Trump has the ability to, invoke the Insurrection Act and get military in there, which he's threatened to do. I don't think Democrats care. I think they want it. But he may have to do that just to bring peace to this whole situation, because it's not going to come from a direction of the state. It's not going to come from the direction of the governor. Not the mayor. None of them. None of them are going to step in. I mean, they're all in on what's going on. They're all in on disruption. They're all in on pushing back. I don't think it's going to change unless Trump comes in, and I'm sure he's weighing the pros and cons of that right now. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ. How are you?
We're doing well, Danny. Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, you know something? And the one constant about this whole thing is Democratic-run states.
It is. It is. They've withdrawn from the from any kind of help or agreement with federal law enforcement. They're going to fight them constantly, and they're going to sue the Trump constantly. They're going to spend whatever money they've got to fight Trump instead of fight for peaceful streets or to fight criminals, including the state of Arizona, by the way. State of Arizona, we've got Democrats right at the top of it. We got Democrat governor, Democrat attorney general that is so proud that they do lawsuits against Trump on a regular basis.
Yep. And that's what they want. They don't care about anything else.
No,
you know, and that's a shame. And I can't understand. I think I told you this. I don't understand how the Democrat voters put up with this monkey shines.
They believe a lot of the reports that are half truths or lies. They do. They believe it. They believe Trump's a criminal, but they can't tell you what criminal charges would be brought. They don't know.
I guess you can't fix stupid, huh?
Yeah, well, it's uninformed, and I guess that makes stupid. I guess, but it's uninformed for sure. Or misinformed.
Yeah. Well, I think that they still think that John F. Kennedy's in the White House.
I doubt it, but maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, because these the Democrats that are in office right now are villains. They're just mean.
They are, and they're pushing for chaos, and they're pushing for destruction. They're pushing because they think that's the best way to get their agenda forward, is to create the chaos, create, the breakdown in the whole workings, and that way they can step in and save it. Once they break it, they think they can step in and save it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same that's going on. I tell you.
It is.
So is that goofball in Minnesota? Walter, is he running for mayor? I mean, governor again, or is he?
No, he withdrew early on. He withdrew because the Somalia thing being exposed is just exposed his incompetence, exposed his lack of being able to run it, and whistleblowers were telling these guys for years it's been going on.
Yeah.
And Walt ignores it, if not actively shuts down the whistleblowers.
But he sticks his head in the sand, right?
More than that, it's been alleged he's been active in helping shut down opposition to the Somali situation and all. No indication yet that surfaced that he's profited directly, but people have suggested that that's a possibility, and they want to look at it.
Something. Getting back to our governor here in Arizona, do you really hear that much about what she's doing or what her agenda is?
Of course, yeah, it's out there, and our legislators, are trying to fight it every day. And of course, she's been the veto queen. I think the most vetoes of any governor in the state of Arizona history. She holds that title, but. And they're very successful, because if she had her way totally, we'd be a different state today already than we are. I mean, we're already hurt by her, her being in that office, but we didn't lose ESA, but we also didn't put in a lot of the voter reforms that we would like to have done.
Right.
So there's a lot of work to be done that could improve things that she's just flat not going to go along with.
Well, because it doesn't come to her agenda, her narrative.
Yeah. But they're running on the anti-Trump stuff, and that's what Chris Mays has been doing. She's been spending energy and time and Arizona taxpayers' money on suing Trump constantly. And she thinks she's a hero for it because her bubble says she is. They think that's the best thing, is to slow down the Trump agenda of prosperity because we don't want prosperity under a Republican. It would make the Dems look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal.
I know.
Okay, buddy, I'll let you go.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye. That was Mr. Danny this morning at out there in the foothills. Carney, talk about him for a minute. Mark Carney, he's the prime minister there in Canada, our closest neighbor. Not close and friendly, but close in destination and location. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hey, Russ, how you doing?
We're doing well. Good morning, Gilbert.
Good. Hey, that guy with the gun and his clip.
Yeah.
And the assistant, I think she's assistant secretary. Anyway, she's a big wig in Minnesota. They all belong to that Signal Corps organization.
Yeah, she's the vice governor. Yeah.
Yeah, vice governor. Yeah. So how peaceful was this guy? Well, he helped get license plates and all the information where ICE was going, where they got from her, and they were telling the protesters where to be.
Yeah, he was even deeper than that. He was he was part of that coordination of all hands on deck, alert. We need to come to this location. We need to fight the ICE officers here. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's it. But there's a lot of actions going on across the blue states.
Yeah. None of that gets you.
right.
None of that gets you shot. What got him shot was the physical altercations and having a loaded firearm.
Right. As soon as he started fighting the officers, and they saw the gun, I want to go home. I want to go home to my family. I want to go see my kids grow up. I want to see my grandkids. I'm going to do what I got to do to get home. And there's a lot of things that he reached for his gun. The fact that he started fighting them, and his whole personality came out, and it shows that he wasn't there to have a good time.
Well, these people have to have a legitimate anger towards ICE. They legitimately think that it is their duty to use force on ICE because ICE is using force on collecting these illegals. So they think they can tackle, push, shove, grab a hold of ICE. And that's just, they're a federal officer. You don't put your hands on them, buddy.
Yep. I got some other stuff, Russ.
What?
Did you hear Dutch Brothers coming to Phoenix, Arizona?
No.
The headquarters, they're leaving Oregon. Another sanctuary state losing business.
Wow. And which organization is this?
Dutch Brothers Coffee.
Oh, coffee. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You got Starbucks from Seattle and you got Dutch Brothers from Oregon.
Yeah, we have a few Dutch brothers in town now, right?
Oh, yeah. 4. I think 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I like that.
I didn't know that, Gilbert. That's good news. That's great.
That's great. Yeah. And then I got some other stuff. I just read, and I Googled to verify it. 500 gas stations have shut down in California. More to come. They're independent gas stations. They're shutting down. They're leaving California.
We've got some gas stations shutting down in Arizona too because of that refinery shutdown. I mean, it's scary for us. I know there's plans right now to put a pipeline. I don't know if you've read this, but they're going to use that existing pipeline that comes out of California and reverse it so that it goes into California out of Texas and stuff. But that's going to take that's going to take a couple of years to get that pipeline in. In the meantime, we're going to rely on trucks and stuff to get gas here, which is more expensive. So it's gonna bump our price.
Hey, what else is shutting down in California?
I don't know.
Costco's is shutting down 300 locations in California.
California is, how all during Ducey, when Arizona was open for business, we fought for every business and all that. California seems not to understand that's what drives the economy. They seem to have lost it somehow. Like they don't care that they lose business. As long as we get to keep our illegals, we'll lose everything. We're okay. It's just
Russ,
crazy.
Have you been listening to the hearings with Jack Smith?
I've listened to some of it. He's not my favorite guy.
Right. Well, his new title, as far as I'm concerned, because I've been listening to a lot of it, It's going to be as I sit here. I don't recall. That's been his go-to phrase during this. I don't remember.
Yeah, he has a lot of not recollection, don't recall, don't remember. Yeah.
Russ, he can't even remember who was the first guy that swore him in.
Well, some of that is just cover, to keep him from perjuring himself or keep him from admitting, that he's created these crimes or, admitting that it was political. But it's coming out in the testimony. It's coming out.
And one more thing here, Russ. This William Kelly, the guy that told ICE, come and get me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That he was part of the guys that ran into the church. He was dishonorably discharged, never saw combat, and was never a warrant officer. The only thing he got warrant officer was when he was probably charged and kicked out of the Army. And it's also said that he had a $60,000 payoff from Alex Soros.
Oh,
yeah.
That might you don't know if that's true. It's been a rumor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the guy was looking. He's looking to martyr himself. It looks like from his actions on social media. He's begging, like, I need a cause. Please arrest me. I need to write a memoir from jail or something.
Right. And my last thing is what's really, really disturbing. Hayes or Mays or however you call her name,
our
Attorney General, when she talked to people about our stand down law we have in Arizona, you can defend yourself if you feel threatened and blah 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 blah.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do know. Yeah.
Okay. The fact that she said that, of course, she's starting to recant a lot of it. She didn't mean to. How many mentally troubled people are out there that are going to listen to her and going to say, "Oh, okay, it's okay. I feel threatened. I'm going to defend myself."
I can't help but believe that's what happened a little bit in Minnesota. Is this guy felt empowered to fight ICE, like he had a right to do it, to fight ICE, because so many people are pushing it. People like Mays, like you say, that is reminding people that the Second Amendment can help protect you from ICE. What does that mean? That these stand-down laws could protect you from ICE? It seems to me people that knock on your door could get shot. Type comments, and I'm like, what? And that's an attorney general. That's
right. Already attorney general. The thing is, how many mentally troubled people will take what she said in public?
Yeah.
And do that.
Well, we know
that at home.
If you watch social media even for a minute, you're going to see some of them. But even this guy that got shot in Minnesota, which had a job. I mean, he wasn't a guy living in a basement. He was an emergency room nurse, and so you would think he had some sense in his head. But even his dad said he warned him, please, don't do anything stupid. Do not engage.
So his dad knew that he was part of that Signal Corps.
Correct.
Yeah. So there they are wanting him to defend him. He's an innocent guy. He's an innocent guy, isn't it? He's an innocent guy. But yet they knew he was part of that Signal Corps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went in heavily armed, extra clips, and no ID.
Exactly. So did you hear? I got one more thing, which is my humor for today.
Okay.
Did you see the story about that Australian reporter talking to our Olympic athletes in Australia?
Did not.
Oh, that was cool. He was trying to put the finger on the problems we have in America on Trump.
Of course.
And asking our athletes what they felt about it, and do they feel like there's a problem, Trump is causing a trouble. I mean, he's asking athletes that are there to compete. And our athletes were great. They were gracious. The first one, the gentleman goes, I'm not going to comment on this because I think you're trying to get me to say something that will stir up problems, and I'm not here for that. I'm here to compete.
Wow, good for him.
And the three other ladies that he same thing now. I have nothing to say about that. I'm good. I'm good. I'm here to compete. And the last thing goes, she says, I'm here to compete, and what's happening in America, more or less will take care of itself. Blah 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 blah. But this guy probably looked like a fool when he got through.
I don't think he cares, man. I don't think he cares.
No.
He probably thinks
No,
I'm smarter than those athletes. They just haven't figured it out. They're arrogant.
Yeah, he thought he was going to get a great piece, and he's going to stir up the caca.
Yeah, instead he got the truth. Yeah, I got to run. I appreciate the call, Gilbert.
Yeah,
Thanks.
bye.
We'll be back. It's top of the hour. It's 7 o'clock, AM 560.
This is News Talk 560 KBLU, Yuma.
Digging out from New Mexico to New England. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. This is historic levels of snow and ice, and then following up with single-digit temperatures today, tonight, tomorrow. Governor Lee in Tennessee, where there are the most power outages, almost a third of the more than 800,000 homes and businesses that allowed electricity this morning across the South and the Mid-Atlantic. Fox News is speaking cronies in Dallas, Texas.
We've seen crews out here since yesterday trying to improve the roadways so that folks can get back on them and able to get back to work, back to school.
Well, schools are closed from there up in New England. Some areas with over a foot of snow. At least 9 people have died in the storm, including a teenager killed in a sledding accident in Texas. There may be even more deaths. A private plane went down during the snow last night and then caught fire in Maine. The FAA writing, quote, a Bombardier Challenger 600 crashed as it was taking off from Bangor International Airport in Maine around 7:45 local time. 8 people were on board, and we still don't have a status report on those 8 that were on that plane. This is Brian Davis monitoring from Boston, where there are a lot of flights canceled again today. The storm still making air travel difficult. Nearly 4,000 cancellations today after 11,000 plus were grounded. President Trump just posted on Truth Social, he's sending borders over Tom Holman in Minnesota, where the anti-ICE protest got even angrier after a protester was shot dead over the weekend. Democratic officials in the state got a judge to order evidence be preserved.
The president told the Wall Street Journal the administration was reviewing the incident that led to the death of Alex Freddie. Several members of the administration defended the shooting of Freddie, saying he was carrying a gun. But several videos of the incident show a federal officer pulling a gun away from Freddie, then opening fire on the unarmed man.
Fox is still 8 hours after Israel launched an operation in Gaza to find the remains of the last dead hostage Hamas took in the terror attack that triggered the war. The body's been located. Americans listening to Fox News. This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Ben Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G coverage. What? Franklin wasn't even a president. Hang on to those Benjamins. Dial pound 250, say micro, and save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, micro. Switch to an American wireless company that's truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow, life history, and I never thought in a million years not to use life insurance to be unexpected costs. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% off. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Application may vary. Online health questions.
From the News 11 Information Desk, I'm Madeline Murray. Local and one of members attended the Ag Fest 2026 Saturday afternoon. The annual event took place in downtown Yuma at 1 p.m. and featured a variety of news, entertainment, music, food, and drink vendors. Plus, another event involving the community Saturday morning. Locals across Yuma County participated in the Celebrate Life 5K Canoe Run. The event took place at West Wetlands Park at 10 a.m. featured live music, food trucks, and vendors, and more. All proceeds from the event will support New Life Pregnancy Center. The first 100 participants also received a free t-shirt. The event lasted until now. Catch us on the TV side on News 11 every weekday at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. for the latest local news, weather, and sports.
He stands 6'3". He's fighting for you.
Stand by KBLU, Russ Clark back with you. 7:04 on a Monday morning. 7:04 on Monday morning with no snow. It's not the same as it is for hundreds of millions of other Americans right now. Oh, by the way, Tim Dunn is going to be calling in, so do not call me right now. Tim Dunn is on his way to Phoenix. He's got some windshield time. He's going to call and say hello here in a second. But 200 million Americans right now in the cold weather alerts, power outages, someplace with 7 inches of snow. In fact, I text my fact checker this morning. I asked him because he's in the D.C. area. There, he's in Virginia. Lives by the Pentagon. I asked him if he gets a snow day, gets to sleep in. Well, he answered me with a less than polite message, but no. He's in the office. He's been there since 7. So, yeah, he doesn't get a break. But he runs the office, so I guess he's got to be there. If he expects employees to come in, he should be there. But a lot of power outages. They expected it though. I mean, they did. I read a lot of stories leading into this massive winter storm, which they of course knew was coming, and predicted there would be a lot of power outages. And that's just the nature of the thing with freezing snow, freezing rain, and all that weighs down the power poles. And they know they're going to have some damage. They know that someone's. They just don't know which one, and where exactly, but it's going to happen. The massive storm was, it says, spanning 2,300 miles. That's how much the grid operators that were replacing the power poles have to get in there. Of course, I read about the other power problems, and it's not just the power poles that go down. It's some of the power generation that can go down. Now, Dee Caldwell, founder and CEO of a selection firm, Global Location Strategies, talks about the natural gas. Now, we know that natural gas runs a lot of our power generation, and particularly, there's one there in Elam Bend that's kind of a substation, that kicks in when power demands get heavy and we don't have enough coming off of other locations. But there's a lot of that in the country. It says 40% of the U.S. power generation comes from natural gas. And in 1990, that was 12%. Of course, back in 1990, we had a lot more coal. And coal doesn't get disrupted. But when you have a coal plant, they will have many months of coal on site ready to get the shovels and put in there. Natural gas doesn't have any natural gas on site. It's just in time. Yeah, it just flows through a pipeline. But in these real cold times, there is a possibility that the pipeline can be disrupted. They can freeze. There's things that can go on with those, particularly, and that happened in Texas. That Texas had a cold snap when back in 2021, and it froze the infrastructure of the gas, and that caused widespread power outages like immediately, because there is no backup to that. It's just in time inventory that comes in, and if it gets cut off, it's an instant shutdown. So they shut down a lot of that. I didn't realize that vulnerability, but it is vulnerable. Frozen gas infrastructure is vulnerable. It's not saying how much of that. This article's not saying how much of that is happening right now, which is causing some of the power outages across the nation. I'll be curious to see if it does. But at the same time that you have these cold snaps and these things that freezes out electricity, demand goes up. Households crank the heat up. I mean, they're home. Usually they're not at work. They're not at school. They're at home. So all the households cranking the heat up because it's cold outside. The Southeast, the lack of storage and limited transport capacity, meaning that cold snaps, natural gas is competing with itself. The most vulnerable area, apparently, is the Transcontinental Pipeline Company Zone 5, which runs through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Limited storage and pipeline capacity mean that during major winter events, which is typical for this region, prices for gas and transport capacity, basically the reserve volume on the pipeline, the vulnerability of these systems were laid bare during the Texas winter storm, which they see. Upgrades following the current storm is among the first major tests of those improvements. So they've done some upgrades. I don't know what. Maybe they put heaters in. That would be an upgrade. Yeah, maybe they did that. He also said long terms will require grid modernization, targeted upgrades to gas delivery, better coordination between gas and electrical systems. And we've known the grid modernization needs to be. In fact, Trump in his first administration put money into that to not only upgrade a lot of the grid, but to harden it against EMP. If we had an EMP strike, they could come naturally from the sun, or it could come from somebody, releasing an atomic blast in the atmosphere. We could shut down the grid. It's vulnerable. So Biden moved that all over into green energy deals. A lot of it to do with the electric plug-ins for electric cars, which amounted to much of nothing. I think we got a couple of plugs for it, but spent billions of dollars. Adding more natural gas generation will not fix the situation and may exacerbate the risk. So we don't need more gas generation. We need a better transportation of it, better pipeline that we know is not as vulnerable to the cold or not vulnerable to outages or maybe redundant in some way that would be able to help in that. So we know that this could create major problems between the grid, between the pipeline for gas, and it needs major upgrades. And Biden canceled it. I don't know if it's back on the. I don't know if it's back on the list to be done or not. I would imagine it's been talked about. But I don't know. But it needs to get done. There's no question it needs to get done. Let me see. Let me get a phone call. You're on the air. Good morning. Well, I have a phone line on air, but I'm not hearing anything. Well, I just heard something then that it was a hang up, and I don't know if that was Senator. It's Senator now, Tim Dunn, or not. But let's try it again. You're on the air. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Of course, this is Senator Tim Dunn. Nice of you to call in. So you're on your way to Phoenix to fix everything?
On our way to Phoenix, yes, to fix everything or to keep things from getting worse.
What's on the agenda today?
Well, we're still working on tax conformity.
Okay.
That we put on the table and was vetoed. Working that we want to make sure that everyone can pay their taxes in the state portion. For those who haven't looked at that, that's the conformity with the Trump tax cuts. But 3-year average is $1.2 billion over 3 years, $440 million a year. A lot of small business tax cuts, the tax on tips. This really keeps your American and Arizona taxpayers money in their pocket.
Is this going to get through our Governor Hobbs?
Well, she has her own plan that wants to do some of it. So she put on about the smaller ones. She really did focus on the ones for business. So she has the plan that she put out. She did her budget is around 150, 200 million. So she's really just focusing on the important, some of the important ones, but the ones for small business, which really helps invigorate the economy and gives certainty for businesses to be able to invest in their business. she's not using those. And there's a couple that we agreed on that we don't want that the federal government did was the SALT, state local tax deduction.
Yeah.
We took that out of the Fed of the conformity and put more money back into child care tax credit. So trying to take that the same amount of total taxes and put it more in those who are having to pay for child care. So tried to give her a win on that, but yeah, we're still negotiating.
Now, Senator, is she still trying to do something with ESA, or is she giving up on that, knowing that she's not going to get it past you?
No, they're not going to give up trying to. They know that they can't get. We're not going to change anything on the ESA. They'll negotiate into the budget. What they would like to do is regulate it to death, make it where it's just so burdensome that you can't comply with the program if you don't want to use the program. So that was their way around it. But with the Republicans in charge, we're going to keep working on it, and we're making sure if you're using the ESA, you've got to comply with the law. So this is not a carte blanche check like they think. So they say that there's things that people are paying, and if you're paying something that's not allowable, and they go back to the audit, you have to pay it back. So we're having accountability. There's every program has bad actors in it, but we're working on that. We know that 99% of the folks that are using it with good expenses, that they would like to regulate it to death. But we're going to hold the line, make sure that school choice was the model for the country. But you still have to follow the rules. It's not a free check that you can do anything you want, but you got to follow the guidelines.
Good, because the programs continue to grow, and the participants are bipartisan. We've got independents, Democrats, Republicans that love the system, and it's amazing that the Democrat Party wants to kill it.
Right, and make sure people understand. So you take, we have a pot of money that goes straight for school funding, and the school has your own tax base that's from your local taxes that everybody pays, and you have the per pupil funding that comes in from a state money, and you get paid so much per student, and then you have ESA money, which is a different pot of money. If you choose to go somewhere else, you get paid out of this pot of money. So the money directly doesn't come out of the public school funds. The way it's reduced is if your school loses students,
right?
Which we were overcrowded before, so we were having an overcrowding problem, not being able to have enough teachers and enough people to meet the needs of the students. So now we're balancing that. Some schools do have too many students that are leaving, and there's a reason for that. But that's a different problem than saying that the ESA money is directly, taking out of the pot of money. The school funding formula is still the same, so that if you have a good growing school and your school's successful, most of ours here in Yuma, then the money stays going to those schools, a different pot of money.
I'm sure you know by now we have a new chairman of the Republican Party statewide, Sergio Ariano.
Sergio, he's going to be a consensus builder. He's going to be great. He's a war veteran. He's stepped up to serve his country. We've all worked with him in the past. He was running for Congress when he was there helping get Trump elected.
Right.
He's what a worker. What we want is someone that can help lead. Because so many people want to follow him. I believe. I think he's going to really help build business. He's been on the inside in the last year working at the House of Representatives with their staff. So he understands the inside. I think that's something that's missing since I've been around the last 7 or 8 years is the leadership. You guys can look back to Jonathan Lyons, who actually understood how the system works between the three branches of the government. So I think they've last leadership that's got now important to have a working relationship with the legislature. And I think Sergio is going to really take what he's learned the last year and help us get people elected.
Well, that's good to hear. Because I want to make sure he gets as much support as possible, because it's a tough position. You're not going to have friends from every side.
Oh yeah, any of these positions, you always have someone that thinks you could do a better job, a different job. But I think if we go back to representing the whole party and our ideals, and trying to understanding that each section of our state is built of a different type of districts, different type of people that we need to win in those districts, and not be that's how we can grow our majorities, stay true to our values, and by getting people elected in each one of these districts. And each congressional district is a little different than each other, so that we've got to make sure that we represent Arizona and hold these positions.
Well, it's nice to hear that our Attorney General Chris Mays is a supporter of the Second Amendment, stand your ground laws now.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's true. We have our stand the ground laws for protecting your private property, protect yourself. That's not against the peace officer. Had a good conversation with the friend yesterday in that space. Like, this is just, he's insane. We have a rule of law, and we just need people to understand that, that the police officers and our ICE and our work, our sheriff, and everybody be able to do their job. And yes, you stand your ground against unlawful entry, but not against the peace officer. Obey the law, you get shot.
I don't know how she could be confused on that issue, but her statements are national news because it's so ridiculous, and it's an embarrassment to the state. And she spends Arizona money suing Trump every day.
Well, I think this is gonna, she's trying to she's trying to get her political hay out of it, but it shows how, especially in that position, you're supposed to have the rule of law, and you're supposed to be the top law officer. And when you do those kind of things, I think it'll be used against her candidacy, because you cannot stir up violence and incite these kind of issues and confuse people. Whatever you're trying to make a political statement, that is way out of bounds. And hopefully it doesn't come back. Hopefully someone doesn't use that statement and do something terrible that would be something we don't want to see. So hopefully people aren't going to go down that rabbit hole. But that will definitely be used against.
Yeah, of course, we've all been reading about the ICE agents up in Minneapolis and Minnesota and a few other states that are sanctuary states, sanctuary cities that are actively blocking ICE. We've not heard of it at all in the state of Arizona, and we don't really have a sanctuary policy in the state of Arizona. So I'm assuming we're on good footing.
Yeah, you can see that, this is where the blue states are. This is where it's ingrained in people's culture. I think here in Arizona, we've had some protests. We've had some peaceful, people protesting even here in Yuma, the No King State stuff. So you've got people, but I think there's a difference between knowing the rule of law and being incited to go against that. Because you can peacefully protest. You just can't impede traffic. Those kind of things. There was some in the moved in. It wasn't a big deal, but folks that were, the crowd was big for the sidewalk, and they were speeding over. I don't think they weren't trying to block traffic, but they were blocking traffic just because there was a pretty big crowd back in December. So I don't think it's, we believe some of those paid protesters, we know they are back east, and if we can keep them out of here, I think we're better off. You can tell it's between the governor's rhetoric and her lack of stuff. Where Mays, I think the governor's trying to come to the middle, and get some independent votes.
With all the businesses leaving California, and we see a lot of it, and in some Oregon and some other states, Washington, are we doing enough? I mean, I know during Ducey, he had billboards that were open for business, pushed business initiatives. I don't know how much we can do that under Hobbs, or if we're doing it at all.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the exact answer on that. That's the Commerce Authority does a lot. The Commerce Authority has still been active over worldwide, bringing businesses here. They did renew. We did reduce our budget a little bit. It was a kind of a controversy between what they did on some of the ways they were recruiting folks. So I think part of that is they're reduced, but we're still actively recruiting.
Yeah, I understand. We just got a Dutch Brothers. Someone told me this morning Dutch Brothers moved their headquarters here, which is always good news. We'll take all the people that are trying to get away from over big government in other states. I just don't want us to become one of them that's big government. And I know it's a struggle right now for you guys to make sure our governor doesn't get her way on that.
Yeah, and everything has to be compromised because you got to have the Republican legislature and the Democrat governor. And there's some big fights to be had as we move into the budget, the tax conformity. There's one of the big sound bites is data centers, and she wanting to tax data centers and if you look at the new technology and what they're doing on data centers and the amount of water they're using or recycling and not using, it's less than a couple acre feet a day. They're really, people are kind of forgetting where's the next. We're using a lot of data centers, kind of scattering them out. You need for high latency. If you want to use your Chat GPT and you want to do all these things, you're going to need to have the data centers closer to the population centers. And if you're wanting to bring in the higher paying jobs, the big banking centers and different things that utilize the cloud and you're just storing the data, they're going to be ones that build their businesses where they have good latency and ability to use these centers. So you're investing in the next phase of technology, which is what the world is moving to. And so you're positioning yourself, and we want to make sure we position rural Arizona as well. Because not all these data centers have to be really close, because if we can scatter some of these out to balance out the tax base, to make sure these rural Arizona gets a piece of the tax base, and then the ability to not overload the power network and the grid. We're having these kind of conversations basically weekly with different folks that are coming in. I am to try to encourage them to move to rural Arizona.
Man, I just drove by that, coming in from Prescott last night, I drove by that chip manufacturer there in northern Phoenix. It's supposed to be $168 billion of investment by 2030 as they're continuing construction on those buildings. It looks like a small city unto itself. It's amazing we were able to attract that and get that down here. Hopefully that continues to grow and we can support those kinds of businesses.
Yeah, they're the largest in the world. We've got 3 other major chip manufacturers. They took a handful of us to Taiwan back in September. They basically it took 10 years to get them here. The Commerce Authority worked on that. They are up and running. They're basically planning on doubling their size. They just a couple weeks ago or less than a month ago, all 2 runs together. They just bought the other 400 acres of state land across the road where they're at. So that's like for $179 million for that state land to double the price. By hopefully, there's a process when you sell state land to only sell when it's ready to be developed. So they only sold them the first portion 5-6 years ago for like $80 million, and then now they double the price is what the value was for buying across the street. So yeah, they're improving, they're expanding, and some of the new things that Trump they just did a negotiation on some tariffs, so it allows the subsidiary companies that want to provide services to come and manufacture here in Arizona to be able to backfill the parts that they need to build these chips and to do all the processes. So that'll continue to evolve. Arizona's to be these are high-paying jobs. We're working on a STEM program, science, technology, and math, for allowing our high school students to take some certificate programs so they can go straight into working for these facilities. And they're trying to focus that on the junior college and then high school. So there's a major concerted effort to allow these jobs.
Yeah, it's apparently really highly technical. That you don't train these people overnight. This is highly technical stuff. But it's amazing how big and how much money go into them. They're not building these chips in somebody's garage.
Right. There's a lot of engineers needed. The pipeline of engineers is something we've been working on. We've had U of A and here the last couple of months working on expanding programs in Yuma. But they're not all engineers that are growing those facilities. There's some folks that come right out of high school, right out of one or two 1-year certificate programs, and go ahead and make it good money.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's good for our state. It brings a lot in, and I don't know what their water usage is, but they do recycle the water, don't they?
They use a lot of water, but they recycle. they do. They recycle. It all gets recycled a couple times. The major cleaning facilities, but it's all relative. The amount of tax base and the amount of jobs and stuff that it does, the water, the value for water is for drop, which the acre foot is pretty high, really high. So that's what you have to balance when folks ask, "What are you doing?" And what you're using a lot of water. Yuma is a prime example of our water is valued in billions of dollars because we ship it out for produce.
Right.
So someone's water, for their value, for making chips with it, or houses. So you got the value with your water rights. We depend to Yumas because of our ability to feed America, and then the water that's used up there on that state land that was there for Phoenix is the amount of water that they're using compared to what the tax is and the income it's generating is very, very high.
Oh, it's a lot of money, but you can't eat the chips. We still need agriculture, Senator.
That's right. So you get what's the win-win. We keep them up there using that water up there, and we keep our water here to be able to feed America.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the call. I appreciate all the time, my friend.
You bet. Anytime.
Thank you.
I'm always available.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Bye. Of course, that's Senator Tim Dunn on his way to Phoenix to make sure that we're well represented, and that we are. We'll be right back.
71 and cloudy on Monday. Northeast winds at 10 to 15. Partly cloudy and 45 Monday night. Sunny at 74 on Tuesday.
What's up, Yuma, and hello, Russ Clark Show listeners. Johnny Porter here, and I just made the switch to Allo Fiber, and it's a game changer. Lightning fast speeds for streaming, working from home, and gaming. No buffering or slowed down speeds. It's time to ditch the glitch and switch to Allo Fiber.
Listen to KBLU from 8 to 9 every Monday morning to Life, Death, and the Law. Sean Garner and Adam Hansen discuss estate planning options. Learn how you can plan your estate using a will or trust to protect your family and secure your legacy. That's Life, Death, and the Law every Monday, 8 to 9 a.m. on 560 KBLU.
We're the comfort experts, people you can trust. Ask our customers. That's why they count on us. Over 50 years of service. Keep us going strong. We've got a name you can depend upon. Hamburger refrigeration and electric Hamburger. Count on us.
There's a man in D.C. He stands 6'3".
AM 560 KBLU. Russ Clark with you. It's 7:30 on a nice Monday morning. Nice and cool. Let me see. 51. Feels like 49. That's nice. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ.
Good morning, sir.
That was an inspirational conversation with Dunn.
It always is. I mean, he's really, really good for us. He does a great job representing us in Phoenix.
Well, I hope when he gets there, pertaining to the conversation we had the last time with him about modular reactors, I just think he needs to push that through because every time something comes on around the neighborhood here, my lights go dim. So you bring all those high-tech businesses and all these other outside businesses here, I don't think our grade is going to handle it all. So they need to get on it. They've got another one going into operation soon in Tennessee. That's 2.
Now, are any of them active yet?
I don't know. I'll have to ask my mother to check the power company.
I'm just curious because I'd like to see the success and, ask some questions about, disruption or process of putting it in the ground, how it's protected, those kind of things.
Well, call Representative Burchett. You want his phone number?
Sure. Just text it. Well, you can't text.
I can't text on this.
I'll call you later and talk. And get
Call me later, and I'll give you his phone number at his offices.
All right. Yeah, we can.
But they're going to, they were the big Tennessee Valley Authority, man. They're jumping on it quick. They know that it is the way to go.
Well, that Tennessee Valley Authority is one of the biggest power authorities in the nation. because they do multiple states, not just Tennessee.
Right.
Yeah.
TVA.
Mhm.
And it's already becoming out of date. So we got to do something, so they're putting the reactors in.
Hell, you and I are
Modular reactors.
out of date, you know.
Well, that's a fact. But you know, he needs to press this.
Yeah, I'd like to know more, and I'll bring it back up with Tim, because power is a big deal. You know, I was reading this morning about the gas lines that can freeze. I like gas generators as backup, but that shouldn't be our main source. We should have nuclear type power.
Right. Well, you know, the company I've worked for, Fucina in Maryland and all, in Calvert County, we put in 2 million gallon natural gas tanks right there at Calvert County, where they could be accessed by the water and by the land.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of those in the nation. Like this one says, you know, these power companies don't keep storage on property. They rely on that pipeline to give constant feed for just-in-time inventory. They burn it when they get it.
Right. Well, there's 1 million gallon tanks that we put in Calvert County, which are accessible by water and land.
Yeah. Which
that's a lot of natural gas.
It fills the pipeline, but that pipeline is still vulnerable. Man, if something goes down with that pipeline, those power generations turn off immediately.
Right.
They don't have backup. And I never really, you didn't really think about that with coal, but coal will have piles of coal. You know, you shut off their supply, they're good for a few months. They're good.
Right. And with nuclear, you don't even have to worry about that.
What is it, every 3 years or something? They're 10 years or something? I don't know.
The new I haven't heard enough about, but they're evidently their longevity is the way to go.
Well, when you start talking like aircraft carriers, they're 50 years. Those would be the smaller generators. Right. You know, they seal them up, stick them in the center of the ship, and they can't take them out again. You know, if they need to be refueled, you crush the ship. It's over. Service life's done.
Right. It's like Lake Anna power plant. That's a nuclear reactor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's sitting right on a fault line. It's active.
Yeah.
And when they put the reactor floors in and we were pumping concrete in it, they knew that it was vulnerable to an earthquake. And when that last one hit out there, they freaked out because it went right under the reactors.
Wow.
All the way to the Potomac.
I don't know what would happen with a major crack or something like that. I know that the modern reactors, if you lose water supply like in Fukushima, it doesn't melt down anymore. In fact, it shuts down. It didn't used to. Then that's why Fukushima melted down, because they lost power, and then there was no way to keep the water going through it. Couldn't cool it, and it backfired, man. It kind of like exploded a little bit.
Well, there is a gel lubricant that you don't have to worry about loss of water flow.
Oh.
That cools so quick that they just recycle it constantly. And it just, you don't need to keep adding water to it, cool water to it to do it. But the technology behind it is, do they want to use it or do they want to stick to the old way?
Well, they got these places built, and they have like a multi-decade lifespan, and they don't want to redo them just because new technology obsoletes them. They just keep running them. Same with Chernobyl. It was a bad design, and Fukushima was a bad design. But we need to build new ones and replace those.
And that's why we're sitting done in the rest of both there.
Yeah.
Get it done. Get it done. Get it done. I mean, I'm looking out back here. It looks like a Christmas tree ornament or a Christmas tree in the wintertime with Christmas lights strung everywhere. Come on, man.
You need your lights. You want to make sure you keep your lights and heat and all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, the radio got louder because the street lights just went off.
Wow. Okay. You're like living out there on the farm of Green Acres or something, it sounds like.
Yeah, I like that in the book. Anyway, you guys have a good day.
You too,
Thank
man.
you very
Be
much.
good, man.
Keep
Bye-bye.
on guns, bud.
I'll do it. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah. I'll push done. Hey, today's high is only going to be 71 outside. You know, nobody on the East Coast is going to feel sorry for us. There's hundreds of thousand people without power. So, but we can whine internally. So now it's cold. Maybe it was 32 or so in Prescott when I was up there, and it's been a lot of time outdoors. Let's take a phone call. You're on the air.
Hello, Russ, Fernando.
Good morning, Fernando.
About these processors, this ain't not in Iran, that's for sure.
Why? Oh, yeah, we don't want to be there. They're running out of water and power.
Well, the deal is, why protest in the wrong place? Is people in Minnesota. Why don't you go to Washington D.C. where they can hear them? They're protesting against ICE in their faces. They ain't gonna win.
Well, but you're missing the point. The point, they are winning though. What they're looking for is press. What they're looking for is outrage, chaos. And even though Minnesota's not one of the bigger operations, like you said, Texas has 10 times more ICE arrest and activity than Minnesota, with zero incidences, because they got cooperation of the state. The state's purposely,
and there's no
purposely
cooperation.
doing
This governor, what's his name?
Tampon Tim.
Okay, the more they kill people because protesting, the bigger he gets, the bigger.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of fame.
Well, yeah, and they martyrize it. I mean, I'm not saying they're wanting somebody to die. I hope that's not the case. But when that happens, they're going to take advantage of it and demand, get out of my state, close ICE down. We've had another person.
They're processing to the wrong people. You can't. ICE is doing their work.
Yeah.
For me, when you go protesting, you take a gun, or you take a knife, or you take a machete. What does that mean? He ain't gonna go cut grass or trim the trees.
Well, yeah, or if you take a loaded firearm with a couple extra mags and no ID, you usually don't have peaceful intentions.
Like my grandson, how stupid can they get?
Yeah. Yeah, and then go and attack an ICE officer and put your hands on an ICE officer.
You can't touch him.
I know.
That's the worst thing you can do.
But they're giving
Touch
advice.
an officer.
They're giving advice to do it. Advice.
They're doing a lot of stress.
I know.
And they got families too. They don't want to get killed.
No, they don't. And they know these guys are radicalized. They read the emails we read. They read the workup on these guys, on what they're doing, on their organizations, on how they're.
Well, they should go protest where they can hear them in Washington D.C. What they're doing now, protesting the Lions, or they're going in the den to protest.
But they
and
can't.
get in trouble.
They can't go to Washington D.C. because Washington D.C. right now is under Trump's rule, and he's not going to let it happen. He would shut them down. And,
well, that's what happens. That's what it should do right now in Minnesota.
But it's run by a governor that's got something to hide.
Oh,
Yep.
he's got something to hide.
Yeah, he
Real
does.
bad.
So he is more interested in fighting the feds than working for his citizens.
In other words, he's making the issue bigger for his advantage.
Correct. He wants it to be front page every day, and he's the hero.
Yeah.
I'm the one standing up to the enemy.
Yeah.
The enemy's us. It's crazy.
Well, Hitler did that, but it didn't work.
Well, it worked for a while. He got to be in charge of the country.
Well, if Hitler would be the governor or the dictator of all the world, would be speaking German and eating sauerkraut.
I think so. We're glad that didn't happen.
Okay.
But we need that kind of energy to stop this thing too. We need that kind of energy in the United States. But right now in the United States, we're so divided that there's people that would love to end all police, love to end ICE, love to embrace our illegals more than we do our citizens.
Is the governor, as soon as you kick ICE, is the governor going to do something about it?
I don't know.
Minnesota?
No. He's going to embrace them. and probably give them clues on not how to do illegal stuff and don't get arrested.
Oh man, that's terrible. All these people, they're just getting in the lion's mouth right now. Just go and try to beat an ice, and the ice is going to turn back and catch them. Okay, well,
All right, buddy.
have a nice day.
You too, man. Bye-bye. Let me see. I'm getting a note here from a listener that says a single chip facility can consume up to 10 million gallons of water daily. I have no idea what they use, but it's worth looking at. That's equivalent to 33,000 households. And given our current water shortage in Arizona, maybe the chip plant should have been built in an area with extensive water resources. I think we should work on getting extensive water done. And that's something I didn't talk to Tim about this time. I regularly bring it up that we need to make sure that we're looking for new water, not just redistribution of existing water. Oh, and he corrected me on the aircraft carriers. He said they will they'll replace the nuclear core reactors once in their operational 50-year life at the 25-year mark. I did not know that. I knew that enough. I'd heard the 50-year was their life. I thought that included no reactors redundant. I'll look at that. Yeah. You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that is it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. That's a quote by Obama's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel. I remember that, actually. I do remember Rahm Emanuel along those lines. I don't know if that was the exact quote I remember, but I remember that, not letting a crisis go to waste, which is sad, but that's what's going on right now in Minneapolis. I'm not saying they wanted the crisis, but man, they're going to jump all over it and try to get down. Mark Carney, I started talking about him, the Canadian Prime Minister. He says that Canada has no plans to pursue a free trade deal with China. He's been talking to China. Now, he's very upset with the United States. He doesn't like the United States, and I don't think Trump likes him. But he's pushing back against Trump's threat to slap 100% tariffs on Canadian goods. Because they were going to make a deal with China to buy electric vehicles, and according to Carney's office, the leader reached an agreement that would allow up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles to enter Canadian market at a lower tariff rate of 6.1%. And in 24, U.S. trade policy imposed 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles and 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. China retaliated with 100% duties on Canadian canola oil and meal and 25% tariffs on pork and seafood. Trump issued the terror threat on Canada on a social media warning. That's how they do business now, even at that level. Used to be red phones or something. Now it's on social media. He said that if Carney thinks he's going to make a Canadian a drop-off point for China to send goods and products into the United States, he's sorely mistaken. Of course, that's the way he saw it. That was a go-around for China to get goods into the United States. Trump claimed Canada is being taken over by China. China successfully and completely taken over the once great country of Canada. So sad to see it happen. I only hope they leave ice hockey alone. I didn't know. Trump was an ice hockey fan. Carney's denying it. We have no intentions of doing that with China or any other non-market economy. What we've done with China is to rectify some issues that developed in the last couple of years. But Carney is one of the governments that won't do a deal, with Canada. Carney won't do a deal with the United States. A trade deal. It's kind of pushing back on all that. Bill Clinton is jumping in on this also. Oh, phone lines are open, 928-344-5258. Bill Clinton is jumping in on the Minnesota shooting. But you don't hear a lot about Bill Clinton. He kind of lays low, but I'll tell you about that after the phone call. You're on the air.
Good morning, Russ.
Well, good
How are you
morning.
this morning?
Good.
I think it's Carl that wants to do this, but I was reading on one of the web pages yesterday that Senator Kennedy is wanting the water cannon brought out.
Well, he's been listening to Carl and Gilbert. Yeah, they definitely
Right.
want it.
Need to put the colored dye in there and just drown them.
Yeah, I don't think that'll make a good image on TV, but who knows?
Well, I mean, it works everywhere else. Why not here?
Yeah. Do they use water cannons in other countries?
Yes, they do.
I guess I haven't seen that.
Yes, they do. They use them over there in England and Australia, and probably other people know more other places, but those are the two that I know of to break up the crowds and stop the Tommy rot.
Yeah.
But I think you get a kick out of that.
I'm intrigued. I am, and these boys would just be giddy if they saw a water cannon go off.
Oh, I would be too. I would be too. Because this stuff's got to end. It's got to end.
Oh, I agree with that. I wouldn't mind seeing those paratroopers out of Alaska drop into Minnesota because it's got to end, like you say, and it's an insurrection at least. It's an insurrection right now. We've got the government supporting the anarchists. We just do, and it needs to stop.
Well, like they were saying that you found out that guy that got shot the other day was funded by George Soros.
Yeah.
And he was funneling money off to these other organizations.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of dark money that goes into that, and Soros being one of them. His fingerprint shows up on all of it, and it's paying for that whole organization. There's tons of them. These socialists. They call themselves socialists. They call themselves Marxists, and they get funded for travel and all that stuff. And a lot of these people in Minnesota from out of state, but it doesn't matter. Waltz embraces them like crazy, loves them. Just doesn't like ICE. Doesn't want any kind of legal, which is crazy.
Right. All right, man. I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody else get in there. Have a great day.
Appreciate the call. I got a note from an ICE officer, which is really good. A local ICE officer that was on a duty in another state. I don't want to mention the state, but he was on duty in another state, and he got assistance from local sheriff deputies. And there was six teams like him, and they had tremendous success with arrest. And the important part, I think, is that the locals loved us. The locals loved us, and I think that's where you're going to see success. Is where the state embraces the locals want help to make sure that there's not criminals running around causing havoc and problems, and you never heard of anything out there that was done. I'm not going to tell you the state, but you never heard about that. It's not going on. Like I said, Texas has 10 times the arrest of Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota is the one that's causing all the problems, and they're blaming ICE. Look at all the other states ICE is in. Where have you heard anything like what's happening in Minnesota? Minnesota has all the professional, rabble rousers, the anarchists, the guys are going to block, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, listener asked me, what's happened to Gaza? Has the conflict ended? Don't hear much of anything. That's a great question. The last thing I read on Gaza was they were moving on to stage 2 of the ceasefire, which was discussing reconstruction and discussing those kinds of things and going forward. But he's right. I don't hear much about Gaza. I haven't really looked for it, but there certainly isn't the paid protesters with bullhorns on the corners anymore, saying from the river to the sea and all that kind of stuff. So I guess Gaza's been replaced by anti-ICE, anti-police. The chaos continues. It's just a different a different sign now. That's all. They had to print different signs. Start talking about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is joining in on the Minneapolis type deal. And Clinton says, in recent weeks, we've watched horrible scenes play out in Minneapolis and other communities that I never thought would take place in America. What a bunch of crap. Of course, it's seen it before, and we'll probably see it again, unfortunately. People, including children, have been seized from their homes, workplaces, and the streets by masked federal agents. Peaceful protesters and citizens exercising their constitutional right to observe and document law enforcement have been arrested, beaten, tear gassed, and most severely, in the cases of Renee Good and Alex Preeti, shot and killed. This is unacceptable. Should have been avoided. I'm going to agree with him on it. Should have been avoided. Should have had the state helping in that situation. And it would have been avoided, just like it's avoided in Texas and many other states. To make matters even worse, Mrs. Clinton, at every turn, the people in charge have lied to us, told us not to believe what we've seen with our own eyes, and pushed increasingly aggressive and egotistical tactics, including impending investigations by local authorities. Over the course of a lifetime, we face only a few moments where the decisions we make and the actions we take will shape our history for years to come. This is one of them. If we give our freedoms away after 250 years, we might never get them back. It is up to all of us who believe in the promise of American democracy to stand up, speak out, and show that our nation still belongs to we the people. So I'm going to agree with part of this. It does belong to we the people. And we the people don't want illegals running the things in Minnesota or anywhere else. We don't. We don't want the fraud. We don't want the abuse. We don't want corrupt politicians. And we certainly don't want active socialistic and Marxists by self-described Marxists, self-described socialists, telling us how to operate, attacking our federal officers. There's none of that in here with Clinton. He doesn't mention any of that. He mentioned, unfortunately, the two people that were killed. Yeah, and the two people that were killed were part of those organizations that were standing in the way of ICE. I don't want them dead. I don't think ICE did. But they created a situation that caused an escalation. It wasn't ICE that caused an escalation. ICE was doing their job. The same job they're doing in every other state. Same job that's causing no problems, except to the criminals. It's causing problems for the criminals, as it should be. And we need to get the criminals off the street. We need to get the fraudsters off the street. We need to get them off the dole that's taking taxpayer money. And it's hard to believe, a former president is supporting Tim Walz in this issue, supporting the Marxists, supporting the socialists, just supporting the anarchists, supporting the chaos that's ensued. Refused to look at the other states to see how are they doing it. Doesn't look. I suggest you should. You should go down to the other states and say, how are you avoiding all these problems? How are you avoiding all this hate when you have ICE doing their job in your state? Ask them. Go down and ask. I just read you a note from an ICE officer. I spent 2 or 3 weeks in another state helping them out. And they were loved by the population, loved by the citizens. They loved them. Thank you for coming and thank you for doing your duty. I don't think Bill Clinton's going to be one of them. Bill Clinton, unfortunately, probably should be investigated himself. In fact, I think he is. I think he was asked to come testify and refused to. He has a few NGOs of his own that took in tons of tax dollars. He lives very well. If it's legal, that's fine, but there's a suggestion that some of that may be outside the legal limits. Don't know. But I'm disappointed, not surprised. He's mad at Trump for not stopping the subpoenas. And now he's trying to make everything look political. Like, well, now I'm getting subpoenaed because I didn't support Trump on the ICE raids. ICE raid's been going on since 2002, since, then, after Bill Clinton. But never been this issue like this before. Obama loved him. Obama bragged about him. Obama gave Tom Homan a medal for arresting 400,000 illegals. Now they're supporting anarchy and supporting Marxists and socialism to attack them, to attack our ICE agents. Unbelievable. It's turned that fast, and it wasn't that long ago they were heroes, even by the left. I'll be back tomorrow. Life, Death, and Law up next. AM 560 KBLU.